Well, hello out there in internet lands. This is me, DP Knudten, and I'm doing Bookward Bound, which is my real-time attempt to create a book in 301 days. And actually, this is day 10, I think, of live streaming every consecutive day so that I can keep moving that book forward even a little bit. And right now it's Saturday, March 14th at 7:48 p.m. Central Standard Time, now that we're off Daylight Savings Time. And I'm actually going to be doing something to progress the book forward. I'm definitely not promising to make a lot of leeway today or make major moves, but I am going to do something because the reality is creating a book is a pain in the brain, body, and soul. And so the only way to actually get a book done is to do it in tiny bites. You know, it's that old analogy about eating an elephant. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Well, same thing with a book. You do it one bite at a time. And so today, I'm going to be doing exactly that by going into shutting out of my email and going into Scrivener. Hold on. There we go. Current application, Scrivener, moving it over to the right monitor. And working on it. Okay, so Scrivener. Hey, book writers, do you know Scrivener? If you're a book writer, you should, because it's this really great program for people who are writing books or want to write a book, because it's a place to both write the book and kind of configure the book at the same time. So you can see over here that it's got a bunch of stuff on the side that is really important for writing a book. Things like the title page, the copyright page, a dedication page, contents page, which would be for table of contents, and then theory. This is actually a major section within the book because I'm dividing the book into two sections, theory and practice. And what that means is I'm going to lay out the ideas of nonfiction branding, explain them to a certain depth, and then in the second half, practice, show you how you can do it, how you can create your own nonfiction brand for yourself or your business. Cool? Cool. So right here, I've got I am not a fiction writer as the first part of the book. And I'm not sure if this book is going to have an introduction, but it's certainly going to have a first section that explains what the book is about. And this is that section. So I'm not saying that this copy that I'm about to type or write isn't going to change, but I'm going to actually put some keystrokes into this book so that I can move the ball forward, because that's the key thing. You got to take these small steps, What is it? That journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Well, this is the equivalent of that. Excuse me, but I've been co-authoring with my co-author Kirkland, who's an Irish whiskey from Costco. This is actually water here, so don't worry about that. But I have had a little bit of writer's lubricant in the form of a glass of Irish whiskey. So, I am not a fiction writer. Where did this come from? It's more like a long time ago. At the very start of my copy. Oh, God, I'm such a bad typist. Copywriting career. I worked at a certain ad agency in Atlanta, Georgia, Georgia. If you're, it's not that hard to, hard to figure out which one parens, just look on LinkedIn, but let's maintain the fig leaf of anonymity for a moment. Where I worked is not important. What I learned there is. Okay, I learned, when I was in high school English, I hated English because it was applying grammar and structure. I never had a problem with spelling because I understood the need for spelling, but grammar was always a pain, and I hated it. And one of the concepts I never really understood in high school was when to create paragraphs. When it always seemed very arbitrary to me. Like, I guess I've written a bunch and maybe I should stop and create a new paragraph. It never felt right. And then I don't even know when it happened, but it clicked in my brain. Oh, when you have a paragraph, you are talking about a single idea. When that idea switches to some level, it may not be a 180-degree switch. It might be a 15-degree switch. Make a new paragraph. Why? Just read William Faulkner. That dude, I'm sorry. If you're a Faulkner fan, good on you. If you're a James Joyce fan, good on you. But I'm not that, because those run on blah 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 sentences and paragraphs and pages, they are just so unhelpful for a reader. I think there's a word for self-pleasuring that I'm not going to mention here, but I think it applies to a lot of writers, which is, oh man, I see what you're doing. You're self-pleasuring instead of writing for the reader. And some readers love to watch that level of self-pleasuring and pretend to enjoy it. I'm here to say, dude, I don't need to see you pleasure yourself. I need to understand what you have to say, what you have to share, and what you really want me to understand. And I think that's the day when I realized what a paragraph was for. It was for taking the writer's brain and chunking it out in path. It's almost like cobblestones or flagstones. So you can lead the audience down the path one flagstone at a time, and they can follow your train of thought. That's how I use paragraphs, and that's why I just wrote a, 2-word sentence, or 2 words paragraph, 3-word paragraph, or 3-sentence paragraph. What I learned there. It all came to a head. It all started ordinary day. When I received a creative brief for a print ad. Now, if a creative brief is a multi-page document labored over by most of the time earnest, diligent. Harriet. Oh, my Lord. Harriet Ritz. How are you, Harriet? Okay, this is hilarious. I'm sitting here. Okay. Harriet just popped up on my comments and reactions feed, watching from Facebook as I do this. And guess what, Harriet? I'm writing about an agency I worked at, which kind of set me off on this whole nonfiction brand thing. And for those of you watching, which I think it's only Harriet at this point, Harriet and I worked together at another agency years later. I mean, the agency of which I'm writing about was like my second year on the job as a copywriter. My 25th year on the job as a copywriter, I think I started working with Harriet at an agency that shall not be named in Florida. And, well, just stick around, Harriet. I think you might enjoy some of what's coming out. Anyway, so good to see you, Harriet, even if it's only via comment. Let's get back to what I'm writing, okay? Labored over by most of the time, it should be an earnest, diligent account manager that has worked out what the project is with the client, period. And in general, the creative brief is something fundamentally ignored. I don't need a comma there. By the creatives. I'm going to make it capital C. Creatives working, assigned to the project. Right, Harriet? We ignore those creative briefs with the exception of a few things. Harriet's an art director. So Harriet would pay attention to a certain number of things, like what are the dimensions of the ad? Is it, let's say it's an 8x10 ad. Is it 8x10 full bleed, 8x10 trimmed, et cetera, et cetera. The key things that creatives need to know is what are the parameters of the ad itself. So Harriet would care about what is the size of the ad. Is it going to be black and white, grayscale, or full color? Is it going to be full color RGB if it's going to be shown online digitally? Is it going to be full color CMYK if it's going to be printed at a traditional printer on paper? Remember that what that stuff is? It's called paper. Those are the things creatives care about. And as a copywriter, I'll be honest, I didn't care about any of that stuff. I mean, it informed my thinking for sure. But did I really, 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 really care about it? Nah, not so much. I mean, I had to know how much room there was for copy, because that would determine how many words I wrote. But did I really, really care about that? And the answer is no. Got to be honest, no. Most copywriters don't care about, like if it's a 4-page creative brief, we care about 4 inches of copy within that creative brief. And that section is the section called copy points. Literally, it'd be bullet point. Friday, March 13th. Bullet point. Supplies are limited. Bullet point. First 500 people to show up get a free t-shirt. Those bullet points were the thing I cared about. The rest of the brief about the brand and all that stuff, that was regurgitation mostly for clients. I mean, yeah, once you know a brand as a creative director or an art director, you know what that brand is, what it means, and how you're going to actually execute the communication in whatever form of ad that you're doing. You don't need to be reminded of it terribly. But the key is once you know that brand. Initially, yeah, you read the whole brief. But after that, you just look for the copy points. So that's what I'm doing here. I'm just talking about that. Fundamentally ignored by the creatives assigned to the project. I, as the designated copy writer, did exactly that. Ignore the vast majority of the creative brief, but focused with hawk-like. That's got to have a dash in there. Hawk-like intensity on the copy points it contained. Again, for those fortunate enough never to have cracked the seal on a creative brief, copy points were the rubber hits the road. Facts, specifications, and messages the client wished to convey via the selected advertising platform, channel. And in this case, the copy points were very terse, simple, and unsatisfactory. Period. Write some stuff. That's the only copy point I saw, and I was pissed. I was. I was completely pissed. It's like, oh, come on, man. I'm used to lame, really bad creative briefs, but something that gave me absolutely nothing to work with? Seriously, dude? Is that what you're going to give me? Needless to say, I needed to have a conversation with the account manager. And I was pissed. So I grabbed my copy of the, I want to call it something. Yeah, hi, Mr. Creative Director. Wow. And so I grabbed my copy of the creative brief, marched down the hall to the more account manager who scribbled the brief. A creative brief. I've said that enough. The brief to have a conversation about the brief's lack of specificity and clarity. The first words out of my mouth dude, what the is this? They were immediately followed by the words making up the title of this section of the book. Why? Because when it comes to writing advertising and marketing copy, I have absolutely no problem with buffing a... Is turd too strong a word? Is turd too strong a word? Buffing a turd to a high sheen. Period. But said turd needs to be based on one, on a inalterable foundation, the truth. Yeah. So this is how you write a book. You get some inspiration. That inspiration might come in the form of your favorite spirit or fermented beverage. And then you shut off the censor part of your head that says, oh, I can't say that. I shouldn't say that. And you put it on paper. Damn the torpedoes, full speed ahead. And I don't think a lot of people get that. I actually had something this past Friday or yesterday. Today's Saturday. It was yesterday. I had a major client presentation, and my brand, anyone who pays attention to the Nonfiction Brand podcast or Nonfiction Brandversity, the free Facebook group, which I invite you to join, just look up Nonfiction Brandversity on Facebook, ask to join, answer 3 questions to prove you're not a bot, and you are in. If you're paying attention to any of that, you realize that nonfiction branding is about a simple 2-phrase bumper sticker. Know who you are, then be it. So part of my knowing who I am, I have a concept called the Key 3. You can stand for 3 things in your life, your professional life, your private life, whatever. Pick 3 things. In my case, my 3 foundational words are creative, collaborative, and provocative. Creative, I'm always on the creative side of the fence. Don't ask me for a spreadsheet. Collaborative, even when I'm working by myself, I'm actually working for other people and with other people. So I need to constantly remind myself, collaborate. It's not just your way or the highway. The client has a vote in this campaign, if you will. And then provocative. I realized a long time ago my only real value to a client is by making them think differently about what they're already thinking about. And frankly, that's the value of any agency that's not an internal agency at a company. So, yesterday, I had this big presentation, and I wrote something in there that I was nervous about. The control side of my brain was nervous about. The core side of my brain was not, because I had absolute 100% sound reasons for doing it. But I wrote something that was perhaps a tad provocative, which is one of my words, so that's cool. But I went into that meeting going, I don't know. The cautious side of my brain was like, I don't know if I should do this. But the other side of the true know who you are so you can be it side of my brain said, you know what? You've got to do this. Because guess what? They can always water it down. But if you don't come in with steaming hot soup, they're not getting what they paid for. You know? Why would I come in with something that I think is, here's lukewarm, and then what clients do, they water it down some more, and it's ice cold. Instead, I'm coming in with piping hot, and then if you need to tone it down a little bit, you can. You know? And so I presented, and the whole time, I even gave a caveat at the beginning of the presentation saying, there's some things in here. Keep in mind, there's some things in here that I purposely put in that are kind of pushing the envelope. Some things that might not feel comfortable, but that's okay because we can always water them down. We can always take them down a notch. So we get to the section where I'm like biting my fingernails because I'm not sure they're going to dig it. And I say, blah, 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 blah. And I almost put fingers in my ear waiting for, something to blow up. And one of the people across the table that I was really worried about said, oh, I love that. I'm like, what was I worried about? And the answer is, I was worried about being 100% right in my process, 100% right in my talent, my experience, my expertise. And I was worried about my ability to convey the truth of what I was writing to these people in a way that they would value it And then go, you know what? Sometimes you make me mad, but I always appreciate the fact that you break me out of where I am and make me think differently about my business. We live in a world of sycophants who are there to say, oh, you're so brilliant, you're so smart, you're so wonderful. You know, and if you're the one who goes, poke in the eye, no, you're not any of those things. Think about this. By the way, I'm here to help you. I'm telling you, your butt looks fat in those jeans. You shouldn't wear those jeans. I know that no one likes to hear that their butt looks big in those jeans. But I do know this too, that a certain number of people will go, oh, thank God. You stopped me from embarrassing myself by walking out in public with jeans that make my butt look fat. Yeah, I'm that kind of guy. You are never going to walk out in public with jeans that make your butt look fat. Promise. Anyway, back. But said turd needs to be based on an inalterable foundation, the truth. So let's see. I'm telling the story. I'm going to say cutting to the chase. Everything turned out fine. I did indeed write some stuff. The client signed off on the ad with no great agita. Agita is Italian for agitation, with no great problem, with no great problem or with no great or problem or concern, and all were happy except me. I am not a fiction writer. That's not to say I couldn't write fiction if I wanted, which, thank the stars, you do not have to be exposed to. But, comma, but, if I'm writing ad copy, it's got to come at least have a whiff of truth about it. But this incident really got me thinking. Long dash for something like 22 years. If I'm going to make this, subhead. I'm not a fiction writer, comma, what am I? Good. That's a good question. One worth a couple decades of pondering. And so I have. What I realized is that I am, in fact, a non-fiction writer. But my internal realization didn't stop there. But my internal realization didn't stop there. That's a good question, one worth a couple of decades of pondering, and so I have. What I realized is that I am, in fact, a nonfiction writer. But my internal realization, I'm going to kick that down. Again, short paragraphs, a little bit of air. It allows ideas to expand outward. It invites the audience to continue the story. You know, again, I'm going to pick on William Faulkner. Every time I've tried to read Faulkner, okay, and here's the thing. I love Shakespeare. So it's not like difficult language it's not difficult language I have a problem with. I have masturbatory prose that I have a problem with. And Faulkner to me is self-pleasuring like a son of a bitch. So I like to air things out. I don't like to make it like fifth grade English like Hemingway. Sorry, Ernest, but a little bit basic, dude. But my style, it probably has more to do with Hemingway in terms of simplifying than certainly Faulkner. Didn't stop there. It began extending itself to the larger topic of branding. Comma. Yeah, and we'll do comma. Eventually leading to the book you're holding right now. Simple. I learned one thing over my career that I will take to my grave and scream all the way and scream out all the way there. branding is all about simplicity. And simplicity is hard. But worry not my but worry not, gentle brander. Going to walk you through this thicket of I'm going to walk you through this thicket of complexity. I'm going to walk you through this sharing what little sharing what little I've learned over the years in order to over the years in such a way that you'll fling this book down when finished. I can't use screaming again. What I learned over my career. I learned, I learned one thing over my career that I'll take to my grave, and I'm going to leave scream for now. I can't. When they scream down when finished, fling this book down when finished, and yell. Pretty darn obvious. Truth works initially obscure. Recognizable when even by the weakest of light sources. But worry not, gentle brander. I'm going to walk you through this thicket of complexity, sharing what little I've learned over the years in such a way that you'll fling this book down when finished and yell, well, that's pretty darn obvious, DP. Because that's the way truth works. Initially obscure, then immediately recognizable when illuminated by even the weakest of light sources. Nonfiction. That's the way nonfiction. That's the way nonfiction works. And the nonfiction branding does too. I'm a big fan of M dashes. M dashes are the full width of an M character in typography. Sometimes they're called long dashes, but I love them because they're kind of a tempo thing. I like to write copy like it's musical. It has a tempo, it has a pace, it has phrasing and hints about that phrasing. And people who don't use punctuation as a musical device, I think, are absolutely not using grammar and punctuation to its highest level. But at any rate, I've got, look at that, 583 words. One of the things I like about Scrivener is that right down at the bottom, as you're typing, you get a constant update on the number of words you've written. So here I am on a Saturday night, later than I would like to go for maybe an hour, not quite an hour. I don't know, but hey, I just did 583 words that I'm pretty happy with right now, but I'm going to go through and read. Actually, I want to go. So I'm going to go to 18 as kind of that. And then I'm going to go 14 on my subheads. And is this copy all 13? I don't want 13. Hold on. I'm going to change everything to 12. I don't know. Baskerville. I like Baskerville better. No, maybe not. Palatino's a little fatter. Regular. And now I'm going to go through here and take that up to 18. And bold. And then take that subhead up to 14 and bold. And I'm going to leave it there. Not bad for a Saturday night when I really don't feel like doing this. But the funny thing is, if you watch these daily live streams, I always start them by, I'm not really feeling it. It's been a long day. I really don't want to do anything. But I made a commitment to you to do live streams for 301 consecutive days. Am I insane? Yes, I am. But the thing is, by doing this, you, my gym buddy who forced me to get out of bed and go to the gym, has actually made me stronger, has made this book stronger. So I thank you. And I think I'm going to end every one of these live streams by having me look earnestly into the camera and say, thank you so much for helping me on my BOOKWARD BOUND journey. January 1st, 2021's coming up, and that's when this book is going to be done and ready to put up on Amazon Kindle Direct Publishing for, immediate publishing, once they approve it. And if you're going to the social media marketing world in 2021, you better walk up to me and say, hey, DP, did you get your book done? And know what I'm going to do? I'm going to take my backpack off. I'm going to reach in. I'm going to pull it out and say, yeah, it's done and available for purchase on Amazon. And by the way, hold this book. Let's take a selfie together. And by the way, get a copy of it because it's going to be ready in time for Social Media Marketing World 2021. Thanks for helping keep me honest and working toward my book. I really, really do appreciate it. I'm DP Knudten for the Nonfiction Brand podcast, which comes out every Monday. Episode 82 is coming out on this Monday. And also Nonfiction Brandversity, a free Facebook group that I invite you to join, and I hope you will. All you have to do is search Nonfiction Brandversity on Facebook, Ask to join, answer 3 questions to prove you're not a bot, and you are in. And I hope to see you there on campus. Let's get a little theme music on the way out. That's it for me tonight. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.